So when I have absolutely no gym motivation, I rely on this 3-day rule. Not only do I use it for when I don't feel like working out, but I use it in every other aspect of my life. And this is going to be really relatable for you if you're somebody who works full-time or goes to school full-time or heck does all the above and you're just struggling to keep it all together. But before I get into all of that stuff, I just kind of want to pause. For some of you, it's going to come off as tough love. And then for others, it's going to come off as like, you didn't know you could do it this way. So I'm going to start off with the side of that you didn't know that you could do it this way. So I think there's a big difference between not being motivated and then just overdoing it. And I'm going to use the example of weight loss since I know that's a lot of your majority of your guys' goals. And I know you probably know the basics. You need to be in a calorie deficit. You need to be strength training. You need to be eating high protein diet, yada, yada, yada. Then here's the problem that you're probably doing. Yeah, you're strength training, but you're probably doing 5-6 day split. Yes, you're in a calorie deficit, but you're adding in unnecessary things like cardio. And I don't mean unnecessary in the sense of your body doesn't need it. It is extremely good for your heart health. But a lot of people, when they're in a calorie deficit, they think they need to do cardio on top of everything that they're already doing. So for example, let's say you naturally get 8,000 steps a day. You are in a calorie deficit and everything that has been calculated is to reflect the calories of your current activity level. But because you see other people adding in cardio, you think, maybe I need to add in 20 minutes of cardio. Your calorie deficit now no longer reflects the activity level that you had. So let me use numbers as to help me explain. So for me, a 500 calorie deficit based on my activity level, which is getting 8,000 steps a day, strength training 3 to 4 times a week, getting at least 7 hours of sleep, all that good stuff. So based on that activity level, my calorie deficit, I cannot go lower than 1,600 calories. Now, if I decide that maybe 2 weeks into my deficit, I'm like, this is something that my niece does and it's so funny and I picked it up now. Maybe I'll add in 20 minutes of cardio. And then now here's what you find that ends up happening. I'm going to be a lot more burned out. My recovery is not going to go well. I'm going to actually be more hungry than normal. And next thing I know, it's just something that I can't upkeep with. And then therefore I spiral down. And now I'm in this rabbit hole of shame of why can't I just be motivated? Everybody else can do it. And it's like, yes, everybody else can do it if you stick to what you need to do. Because people just think with a calorie deficit, oh, just eat less calories than you burn in the day. And people don't think scientifically what that means. It means that it's less energy that you're giving to your body than the normal it is used to. So if you're not providing it enough energy, you're not going to have your usual amount of energy. So maybe take down a notch of what you're doing, reassess if it's supposed to be what it is, and see if it's something you can manage. And if you're not sure, I'm giving away free assessments where we go over your background and we see what's working, what's not, and I help give you some feedback. And if that's something you're interested, I'll put the link down below in the description. And yes, it is free. Okay, so moving on from that, let's say you are somebody who is doing it relatively correct. Like you're in a calorie deficit, you're lifting weights at a normal amount of frequency 3 to 4 times a week, which is what I would recommend. Because at best, you just want to be working your muscle groups, like the major muscle groups, at least twice a week. So I've always felt like a 4-day split was perfect. Let's say you're getting adequate of sleep. Maybe sleep is kind of lagging a little bit, but everything else is going great. So here comes in my tough love. And no, I'm not going to call you lazy or that you lack discipline. I feel like that does more damage than good when people say that, because if you're already down and beating yourself up as to why you can't do a certain thing, the last thing that you want to hear is, well, you're just not disciplined enough. You just don't want it enough. And for me as a coach, that has never been my philosophy. If my clients are already feeling down, why would I push them down further? So instead, hang some reminders around you as to why this journey is important to you. When I had first started my business, I don't know where I heard this advice from. I think it was from a podcast, wherever it was, but it would just be to keep reminders around you. So one of the things that I would always go towards is before I had a PC, I was always using my laptop. And in my laptop, I would put sticky notes on the keyboard, or the little space below the keyboard. And it would either be affirmations, it would be reminders as to why I'm even doing this business in the first place. And one of my favorite affirmations was, if it's possible for them, it's 100% possible for you too. And I remember putting that affirmation on the little clear space of the laptop. So every time I would open it, it would typically be after a long day of my toxic 9 to 5. I had already gone to the gym at 5 in the morning. So like, yes, I am dead tired. The last thing I want to do is open my laptop and go on Canva and create some designs or script out a video for content. That was the last thing I wanted to do. But as soon as I would see that note, it was like a reminder of like, hey, I know it feels bad right now, but here's how we can here's your reminder that it's going to get better. And I would suggest putting these sticky notes in places that you're in often. And yes, it could be the bathroom. I forgot what the statistic is, but apparently we spend half of our life in the bathroom. So if you're somebody who does your makeup in the morning, does your hair, you can put sticky notes on your mirrors, just remind you of things that you need to be reminded of. I know in the long run, you might have, like appearance type goals, like you want to be able to wear your wedding dress, you want to be down this size by the time summer comes. And yeah, you could keep that as a reminder, but at the end of the day, like there comes a certain point where it's just like, what's the point? And I think that's the problem. You need a bigger why as to remind you of why this is important to you. So in the context of working out, I'll give the example that relates to my age group now that it's kind of more like everybody's starting to have babies or getting ready to have babies, settle down. Let's say you're just somebody who is just not fit. Like you can't even go up the stairs without being out of breath. And the doctor has told you that you need to lose weight, your bones are weak, like your whole body composition is just not looking strong. Now, the long-term goal could be, well, if I plan on having a kid, starting a family, that's going to be really hard to do if your body is already not in the best position to have a baby. And then even after having a baby, there's the recovery. And then when your baby gets older, there's the whole thing of like being able to run around with your kid, to have the stamina to keep up with the toddler energy level. You could do it just for the sake of wanting a better lifestyle for you. And I'm using this as an example from one of my clients who recently signed up. But one thing that she told me was it was just the constant frustration of always feeling like she was hiding behind her clothes. Like she didn't like anything about her body. She felt disgusted by it. And she would always get oversized sweaters, oversized cardigans. Even during like the summer, she would just wear oversized t-shirts so that way no one could see anything of her body. And while that's a good short-term fix, now the long-term problem is that when you try to buy new clothes or if you want to go shopping, have like a girl's day and, treat yourself, that ends up turning really dark really fast, because if you don't like anything about your body, how are you going to buy clothes? You're going to end up having breakdowns in the dressing room. And that could just be like the last straw of you don't want to have that anymore. Now, to word that in a sticky note, I don't know how you would go about it. It could just simply be you want to feel good in your body, or you could even do like week by week kind of sticky notes. So let's say you set out to do a 20-week deficit. You could say 19 weeks left of the deficit, 18 weeks left, 17 weeks. It like seeing the number go down each week and visually seeing it every day can make it a little bit easier. Moral of the story, just put things around you, set your environment up to remind you of why you're doing this. Why is this important at all? And if you don't do it, what is the consequence? I just remembered this right now, but another sticky note that I used to do, the worst place to be is the exact same place next year. And if I had not followed that, I would still be trying to find a toxic job. I would still be sitting in an office when instead I could be here making this YouTube video teaching you guys how to do better for yourselves. Okay, so what is the 3-day rule? I chose it to be 3 because I feel like after the second day is when a lot of people are just kind of like wanting to throw in the towel. So 3 days I've kind of found is to be like a good sweet spot. So every week, so this is the first part of the 3-day rule. Do a workout for 3 days in a row. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be lifting, but it has to be 3 days in a row of some movement. So even if you don't go to the gym, at least go on a walk and do that 3 days in a row. It could be that you lifted, Monday, you were feeling great, you were feeling motivated. Tuesday, it was like, and then Monday, you ended up having a bad day at work. You had some problems with HR, somebody with a coworker, you got in trouble for something. It was a bad day. So now when Tuesday rolls around, you just got nothing in you to get out of bed to go to the gym. Okay, fine. Go on a walk. Maybe the opposite happens and you were motivated Monday and then Tuesday comes and you're starting to lose the motivation and now Wednesday's here and you don't want to go to the gym anymore. Okay, fine. go on a walk. 3 days in a row to work out. It could even look like Monday you went to the gym, Tuesday was a walk, Wednesday was another gym day. That's your 3-day rule for the workouts. The second part to the 3-day rule is plan ahead every 3 days. I think, especially for me, I don't know what I want to eat on the 7th day of my meal prep. I'm not the type of person to meal prep a whole week out in advance, because by the 4th, maybe even 3rd day comes, and it's usually the 3rd day, which is why I put it as part of my 3-day rule. By the time the 3rd day comes, it's like, I'm bored of it. Next thing you know, I'm thinking about pizza. I'm thinking about burgers. So a good way to avoid all that is have a 3-day rule where you plan ahead for 3 days. Now, this could look like a mini grocery trip in the middle of the week where you reset on some groceries. Maybe for the first half of the week, you were feeling like you liked a parfait bowl, but now you're like, I'm sick of it. So now you want oatmeal. So now it's a change in the routine that you're doing. So just make sure that you have something planned ahead at least 3 days out in advance. That way, if there was something you didn't like about it, great. It was only for 3 days. Make a change, do something else. And it especially works if you're somebody who gets tired of doing the same thing all the time, or if you need a change, or, whatever that case is. I feel like the 3-day would be perfect. Now, the next part is check in with yourself every 3 days. It's so easy to get caught up in the emotional aspect instead of the logical. And by default, our brains like to keep us safe. They like to keep us in our own little bubble. So when you start doing things that are starting to get out of your comfort zone, the first thing that your brain is going to do is tell you, hey, I don't know if we want to do this anymore. It's looking a little sketch. It's not feeling safe. Maybe we should just stay in bed today. I'm kind of giving you some anxiety right now, so therefore let's rest. Like, it's really easy to give into those type of temptations. And as humans, we love temptations. And it's not just in the sense of cheating. It's in the sense of when something starts to feel good, you are comfortable, you don't want to change that. And I know that's probably the issue for a lot of you when it comes to working out in the morning. It is cold in the morning. Maybe if you don't use a heater to keep down your, PG&E bill. Like, it is freezing when you get out of bed. So I can understand that the temptation to stay under the warm covers is going to want to overpower the thought of you getting up, getting dressed when it is cold, going out to the car and it is freezing. That temptation is going to overpower what is important in hindsight. And you have to think about it like this: whether you get up now or in an hour or two for work, you still have to face the cold. There is a difference between ignoring how you're feeling and giving in to that temptation. And right now, I think for a lot of you who are struggling with motivation, it's the temptation of wanting to stay on the couch a little bit longer before you go for an evening workout. That you want to watch your favorite comfort show instead of going to the kitchen to meal prep something tasty and healthy to prep for the next day. And one of the quotes that I actually heard from Layla Harmozy, she basically said, fuck your feelings, follow the plan. And I think it has helped me in a lot of aspects, because when it came to, let's say, just content creation, right? When I first started my YouTube back in July, the growth was so slow. There were so many days where I would be sitting right in front of the camera right now being like, what's the point? No one's really going to even watch, right? Or what's the point? It's just going to be the same 2 or 3 people watching, the same 2-3 likes. It's so easy to follow what your mood is saying instead of following the plan, because I have followed the plan, I've actually grown. My videos are starting to get traction now. I don't know if it's the YouTube algorithm or what, but things are starting to finally get through. Was it an overnight thing? Absolutely not. I've been doing this since July. It has been 5 months, 4 months. It wasn't an easy thing to get in front of the camera, script it out on my phone, trying to say all the key points that I want to talk about. It was never it was a fun thing. It's only fun when you know you're getting the traction. And I think that's the exact same thing in your fitness journey. Right now, your weight might be fluctuating every day. Right now, you might see results one day, you might not the next day. Maybe you had a great workout one day and then not the next. So what's the point of doing it again? And we get so caught up in the mood, in our emotions, that we lose sight of the actual plan. When I say that the next part of the 3-day rule is to check in with yourself, it's more in the sense of celebrating your wins, right? It's not how tired are you feeling today? Those things are important, don't get me wrong. but it's more in the sense of like, hey, you were working a lot these last 3 days. What were some good things that came out of it? What were some really cool wins that happened? What were some things at the gym that made you feel really excited? It could literally be so small in the sense of like, I found a really cool gym playlist that I like listen to on repeat. It could be something as small as, you know, an exercise is starting to get easier to do because you're understanding the form now. Heck, it could even just be you ate your meal prep for 3 days in a row. So when I say that in the 3-day rule is to check in on yourself after 3 days, that's what I mean. And now I know with the holidays coming up, it's starting to feel like, what's the point of starting when I have all these Christmas parties, all these family events. Maybe you have dinners planned one after the other, like you got a Friendsgiving and then now you have Thanksgiving and then you got a post Friendsgiving because everybody was on vacation. Like, what's the point, right? So now this is the other part of the 3-day rule is give yourself 3 days to reset. I know for a lot of you, Christmas ends up being 3 days. And even during that awkward week between Christmas and New Year's, like there's probably still, it's just a weird feeling of like, what's the point if I'm just gonna go party again on New Year's or New Year's Eve? That's fine. Give yourself 3 days to reset. That could look like anything. That could just be getting back into the idea of movement. It could just be, or instead of, you know, trying to force yourself to work out because you didn't get good sleep, maybe diet wasn't the best, you're just not feeling great. Okay, then give yourself 3 days to just at least get up around the time that you would normally work out, go on a walk, go stretch, do Pilates, do a yoga class. Do something in those 3 days to reset that's gonna help you for those next 3 days. That could just look like maybe choosing one day to meal prep and then the next day to figure out your workout schedule for the next couple weeks. It could be creating a new routine for yourself, but it's giving yourself the 3 days to reset. The next part of the 3-day rule is a part of those 3 days is to give yourself 3 habits that you know you can stick to every day. And it doesn't have to be workout related. It could be something as simple as setting up the habit of drinking water every 3 hours. This is actually something I started to do because especially during the winter, I do not drink enough water because when I'm cold, the last thing I want to drink is water unless it's warm. So then what I do is as soon as I wake up, I drink it's like 10 ounces of water. And when I say drink, I mean like chug. So then I'll do that as soon as I wake up. And then I have an alarm for the next 3 hours where it'll remind me, hey, drink another 10 ounces of water. And then another one around like 1, maybe 12, depending how the day goes, to drink another 10 ounces. So next thing I know, it's already been half the day. I've gotten 30 ounces of water. So this is like a habit that I know I can stick to. So that's just like an example. Any other habit, it could just be something so simple. It could be just putting out your clothes out for the next day so you're not scrambling trying to find out what to wear. But 3 simple habits that you know you can do every day. It does not have to be workout related. And my last one as a part of the 3-day rule, when things start to feel hard, give it 3 days. Before you start to think that it's too hard, this isn't working, I feel stuck, push yourself for the next 3 days. This kind of goes hand in hand with the whole like following your emotions over logic. But let's say for 3 days straight, your weight was just crazy high. And I know naturally you're going to want to think, I need to skip a meal the next day. I need to cut my calories by like another 100 or 200. Instead of going to that lengths or level of not giving it enough time, give it another 3 days before you decide anything crazy. And I say 3 days because let's say if it was your weight that fluctuated and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, by the 6th day, your weight ends up going back to normal. And it's like, oh, okay, so I wasn't crazy. It was just my hormones. It was just my stress. I was eating high sodium foods, like et cetera, et cetera. And hey, if this is still all really difficult and you feel like it's easier done when you have like a partner or if you have an accountability partner, I know for a lot of you, maybe hiring a coach isn't the most affordable thing right now. Go on a Facebook group. And there's so many of Facebook groups that are like about, you know, working out and lifting and all that, whatever it is you do. I'm sure there's like 1,000 Pilates ones, right? If like getting up in the morning for Pilates is difficult. But go in those groups and just be like, hey, anybody from, and you can put in like your city and your state and saying like, or just maybe even in your time zone. I remember being a part of this. It was like a business mastermind to help you like set up your presence online. This was like back in like 2021. And what that helped us do was if somebody wanted to batch content for that week, it involved getting up at 8 in the morning. So then someone was like, hey, I'll do that too. Let's call each other. So that way, when the day comes, we can make sure that both of us are awake. We can check in later that day to say, hey, did you actually do it? Hey, is this done? Like, set yourself to small tasks. Have somebody go who has the same goals as you. This only works if somebody is doing the same thing as you. And you just check in and be like, hey, how did it go for you? Or, hey, did it work out to how you wanted it to? Like, looking back, if I needed an accountability partner, it would be to help me go to sleep. Like, I would probably call somebody at, like, if I wanted to be in bed by 9 p.m., I would have somebody call me at like 8:30 and be like, hey, are you in bed? Did you brush your teeth already? I'm ready to go to bed too. And it just helps knowing that there's somebody doing it with you. But anyway, that's basically the 3-day rule that helps me stay consistent and helps me kind of push through, especially on the harder days. I think everybody goes through something different and everyone's journey is unique. Your needs are unique and what you're going through is all unique and it has to be treated as such. So hopefully these helped. And if it did, let me know. If you want to share what some of your 3-day rules are as a part of your 3-day rule, leave it in the comments. Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.